My name's Kirstie. I am a young carer. I care for my mum. The event today is at Waterside Campus. It's called Tea and Talk. It's just raising awareness and raising money for mental health charities, and just to start those conversations really, that everyone struggles at some point, and that's important, that you matter. I have been a young carer for the past, 10 to 12 years, quite a long time. I look after my mum. It's just my mum and I. We haven't got anybody else. It's hard to do it alongside uni, but I wanted to be here, and obviously I can't just suddenly stop being a young carer. It doesn't go away. So my mum's probably been ill for the majority of my life, but it was sort of undiagnosed and I was too young to know what was going on really. My mum wasn't able to do anything. She didn't know how to pay the bills, she didn't know how to put petrol in the car, she didn't know how to get money out of an ATM. She became quite unwell quite quickly, quite paranoid, and then using alcohol as a way to cope, I guess, which then meant everything came down to me because she was the only adult in the household. I was at school at that time, obviously. I then went and did my A-levels. Not much had really changed. Not much has really changed to this point, actually, if I'm honest. But it was that point. I took a year out after my A-levels. It took me an extra year to complete my A-levels as well. Then I took a year out. I wanted to come to uni. I just didn't know if it was possible. But then I spent that year doing jobs in the garden centre, working as a Christmas elf, working on an ice rink, and just things where I thought, I don't want this for myself. I don't want to do this forever. I have decent A-levels. I could go to uni. If I was in any other situation, I would be there already. I had no social life at all. At all. I would get into college or school really early because I'd need to get homework done. I couldn't get it done at home. I needed to study. I couldn't get that done at home. Just to get some support in some areas as well. Not necessarily saying that I'm looking after mum, but just actually I wanted someone to talk to, like an adult who could give me that emotional support or any support really. I think it's hard to have friends as a young carer. It's really hard. I'll be really honest, I've had some very long admissions to psychiatric wards, probably not entirely because of my caring role, but that's had a big impact. I was in hospital for 10 months for anorexia. I struggled with self-harm, anxiety, depression, and I think that is a big chunk of that was my home life. It's having to live two lives, that at uni I could be together and I can just, no one would know. You kind of have this facade, I guess, and then I'll go home to chaos and to mess and to days where my mum doesn't recognise me and doesn't know who I am and doesn't trust me. And again, it's that not being able to talk about it because it's not acceptable, or you don't necessarily want to go into it. I guess I feel that pressure not to let people know almost where I've come from in some ways. As a younger child, you do experience the sort of bullying, my mum was that crazy lady, and that's not okay, but I don't want that to happen here, and I've almost had a fresh start. I'm going to make a bit of a sweeping statement. I'm pretty sure that every young carer has mental health struggles, or it may not be a diagnosable mental health condition or problem, but there's so much stress and pressure. You may have insomnia, anxiety, you may feel really low with it, or just stressed or at your sort of limit with it. That with this campaign, I think young carers are going to realise that this is for all young carers. All young carers have these issues. You are not on your own. It's not that you're not doing a good job or you're not coping. Everyone else is not doing a better job than you. We are all in the same boat. We all feel this and we're all struggling. And I think it's making professionals aware that you will see us at appointments as the together people with the notes, and we are trying to be assertive and get help for the people that we love or we care for. You're not going to see us at 2 o'clock in the morning on the floor crying because everything is going wrong and nothing is working. And I'm not an adult. I shouldn't have to know how to call the electricity man or pay the bills and things like that. These are pressures that most young people don't have, and I don't think that's taken into account really. I think as carers we're so used to having to say, I'm fine, I'm okay, I'm holding everything else together, that it's really hard to ask for help, and it's really hard to admit that you're not coping or you're unwell because of those fears of, well, then what's going to happen? What's the knock-on from this? You watch people and you think everyone is coping amazingly, no one has issues, no one has these worries, and actually I think the majority of people do. I think that was a big thing for me. I was really worried that I'm not a functional adult. How do I become a functional adult? But actually no one knows. Everyone will say I'm just bluffing my way through life, but then that has a massive impact on your confidence and like sort of imposter syndrome. But that's not normally the truth. It's just what your brain is telling you. I think it's taken me up to literally the last few months to get to this point. It's been a lot of years of kind of just muddling through and being ashamed, I guess. But it has come to the point for me where I guess it's that breaking point of I can't do this anymore. And then you tell people and the world doesn't fall apart, and actually you do get support. I was really worried that people would be like, oh, well, you can't come to uni then, you have to go home, and that would make things 100 times worse. Or why didn't you tell us? Or they'd judge you for that. I have had no judgment. I've actually had people saying, tell me what I can do. I don't, like people who have said, okay, I'm not sort of young carer aware, I don't really know that much, but tell me what it's like, tell me what's going on. And then like the university here, I'm doing a talk in January about what it means to be a young carer, and they're facilitating that because people do want to hear, people do want to know, and I think we're the best people to tell them, really. I think the biggest thing support-wise that I've had from the Carers Trust in Cambridgeshire and from the Northamptonshire carers here is support, just that sort of pastoral support, meeting other young carers who are going through things that I'm going through, especially when I meet other young carers who are looking after parents that don't have physical disabilities, because even then you feel a bit different if the disabilities or the illnesses or whatever can vary. And I think it's being able to go up to someone and say, I am not coping, talk to people, just tell people. I think coming to uni for me has been one of the best things I could have done, because now I've got support that I possibly wouldn't have been able to access on the NHS. I can see a mental health advisor once a week, and I've been here, like 5 years now, 6 years, and I've seen her once a week for 6 years, and that's the same person, that's an hour a week, and there is no way I would have got that on the NHS. It's paid for by DSA, which is Disabled Students Allowance. So if you've got a mental health condition, then you're classed as a disabled student. But it's so worth it just to get that help. That was a big worry of mine, talking to the GP or even to carer services, are they're going to take my mum away or they're going to take me away, and that's a huge fear. And I think the thing is, what you see on television, what you read, isn't necessarily the truth. It's extreme circumstances that would lead to you being taken away, and it doesn't really work like that. You might go to a family member or a friend, you might just get respite, or they will work with you. No one's going to work against you, but you have to be honest if you want to get help, and that's a really hard thing. But I think also because most people either don't understand what a young carer is, and even if they think they do, they don't sort of put young carer and mental health together. People aren't making that connection that, yes, you look like you're coping, or you've been doing this for X amount of years, but it doesn't mean it's getting any easier, and it doesn't mean you're not struggling. And I think that's the big thing, is it shouldn't just be a tick box, are you a young carer? Yes, okay, we've got that on our record, and nothing happens from that. It's actually saying, like my GP now will say, how are you? And then she'll look at me and say, how are you really? And then she'll always ask, how is home? It takes 2 minutes for her to ask those questions, but I leave feeling heard and I've had someone to talk to. I think I've been quite lucky with the other young carers that I know, and with social media. It's so easy to check in on each other, even if it's just a, hey, how are you? Even if that person takes 3 days to reply, because sometimes that happens, it's knowing that someone has cared enough to send you that message and that they understand And I think that's the thing, you're more likely to talk to other young carers and share things with them because they will get it, they won't judge you. So sort of look out for each other because you are the people that understand each other best, really. So I applied for a disabled students allowance when I came here, which then enabled me to get a mental health advisor at uni. That sort of means someone who will check in on me and my well-being each week, see how I'm coping with lectures and the sort of uni work, just navigating my way around the campus. If I need to liaise with people, she can start that conversation or she can help me to do that. The same with Assist. We've got people who will help if you've got dyslexia, dyspraxia, everything like that. You get one-to-one support for that. We've got a financial guidance team. There's a carer's bursary here, so you can get up to £1,000 a year to help you financially. There is so much here, which is great, but then it's looking outside to the community and thinking, but there isn't really anything outside of Northamptonshire carers that is really being offered. I know there's the lowdown and they're great with counselling and that's more open-ended than some. But then within the NHS, I don't know whether they're really recognising enough that there are, I think last week it was said there were 6,000 young carers in Northamptonshire, and I don't know what's being done to help them really, other than what we're doing right now. I'm hoping more will be done, but it's a few years ago, one of the academics referred to young carers as the hidden army, which is true and which is great, but why should we be hidden? Why, if we are hidden, then we are not getting the help we deserve. And I know he was meaning that we're working away in the background, we're keeping people at home, but yeah, don't forget about us.